Kemi Badenoch has just delivered a barnstorming speech to the Conservative Party conference in Manchester. It certainly saved her political bacon. Can it save the Tory party?
We'll be analysing what I think was not just Kemi's best speech ever, but the best speech of the conference season, and talking to Tory party members to get their views on it. One of them was so pleased, he actually cried.
What did you make of that speech, Jim?
I think it's a fantastic speech. It'll do a hell of a lot of good.
Really? Were you quite emotional in there? I mean, you look emotional, Jim. Come. Why are you Why are you emotional? Is this what you've been wanting to hear for a long, long time? Jim, we've just left the conference hall where I think we can both agree that Kemi Badenoch may have given the best speech of her career, genuinely.
That was honestly the best speech of the entire conference season. And one thing we can say today for sure, I don't know what the Conservatives will be polling in a week's time.
No.
But that lady is safe in her job.
Yes, she is.
There have been no disasters this week.
No.
She shone. She had a number of things she needed to do. She needed to give encouragement to a conference that has felt like the conference of the last stand,
Yes.
the last true believers,
Yes.
because it's smaller and quieter than before. She needed to give them confidence. She needed to remind us why they voted for her. And she needed to say something that would break through to the wider public.
Yes. Policy bomb.
So after giving a speech which was funny, deeply personal, we can go through all that, at the end of it she said something which I think is going to stand out perhaps from the entire conference season.
Let's have a listen.
The last Conservative government cut stamp duty for thousands of home buyers. But now we must go further. We must free up our housing market, because a society where no one can afford to buy or move is a society where social mobility is dead. So I have looked at the stamp duty thresholds to see where we can change them. I have looked at the rates you have to pay to see if we can lower them. I have decided that we can't, because that simply wouldn't be enough. Conference, the next Conservative government will abolish stamp duty on your home.
I was sort of listening to it and I had people around me because we were both seated among the members. They were increasingly loving it. And what they were loving is that she is, at the end of the day, a true Conservative.
Yeah.
She absolutely sort of nailed all of the things that would be on your Tory bingo card.
Yes.
One by one by one.
Home ownership, personal responsibility, family, borders. Yeah.
I mean, in fact, she had a couple of moments where she literally listed everything that she stood for.
Yeah.
Let's listen to that.
I stand for a government that takes less of your money and doesn't interfere in your life. I stand for an economy where profit is not a dirty word, where enterprise is supported, not crushed. I stand for a country where what you put in determines what you get out, where excellence is celebrated. I stand for a country where actions have consequences, where we talk about responsibilities as well as rights, where crime is punished and justice is served. I stand for a society where free speech trumps hurt feelings, where everyone knows what a woman is, where people are judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, where the vulnerable are supported, but where freeloaders are told where to get off. I stand for stronger borders and a stronger economy, so that the young can fulfill their potential, the old can live out their years in dignity, and everyone can achieve their dreams to own a home, run a business, raise a family. This is the Britain I stand for. If it is the Britain you stand for, then stand with me and let's build it together.
Delivering that list, she said, Labour loses when it sticks to its principles because they crash the economy. The Tories win when they stick with their principles.
Yes.
Now, there have been leaders in the past who, when trying to get ahead in the polls, have tended to ditch those principles because they thought you had to go to the centre in order to win.
Yes.
This is a different strategy. It comes partly from it being in a weaker position. They're so low, 16% in the polls, that they've just got to remind those who are tempted by the Conservatives why they are Conservatives.
Yes.
But nonetheless, for this group of people who need to be given a reason after so many defeats to go and knock on doors and deliver leaflets, to hear we're going to be loyal to our principles, that was really encouraging.
Also, when it comes to the kind of personability of it all, I'd written a column before saying she needs to be charm personified. She had a
Yeah.
reputation in the past for being quite brittle, being quite brutal, not maybe pressing the flesh enough.
Yeah.
She strides on stage. I thought, goodness me, there's a lot riding on this. Everyone's going on about it being make or break. She looked comfortable, she looked relaxed, she's delivering her jokes. They went down well, unlike last week where the
Yeah.
jokes all failed, apart
Yes.
from one told by Wes Streeting. She was genuinely quite funny.
Yes.
She was smiley. I thought the whole thing at the beginning where she was thanking everyone for all their efforts, she was basically
By
saying
their
to her...
first name.
Yes, but she was
Yes.
saying to her team, I know it's awful out there on the doorstep.
Yes.
I know we have had an absolute shocker.
Yes.
Last year is a year we all want to forget.
Yes.
But it was a careful balance of sort of mea culpa, but also, and I think it was a kind of, I'm not surrendering to this narrative that everything we did was bad.
Correct.
I'm not giving over to the Labour attack line that the whole of the last 14 years was an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
Because it's just not true.
During our time in government, we did great things. Labour want to pretend the last 14 years were all bad. They want to forget that they were losing all that time. Let's remind them. Between 2010 and 2020, we slashed the deficit. We lifted millions of people out of tax and got millions into work. We sent English schools soaring up the international league tables. We led the coalition against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The conference, the truth is, we didn't always fight hard enough for what we believed in.
I also loved the clarity, the ideological clarity of just saying, no, the status quo and the continuation of sort of heir to Blair Cameron and maintaining the liberal, wishy-washy, frankly left status quo will not happen on my watch. I mean,
Yeah.
it was quite Thatcherite, if
It
I
was.
may say that.
On your point about the personability of it, it felt like the speech someone might give at the Christmas party at the end of a year of bad sales.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
you say things like, and I want to say thank you, Deborah,
Yes.
for the baking.
Yes.
And thank you, Tom, for bringing in your homemade cider. It had
Yes.
that family, let's keep it together, guys, kind of feel. And she said this interesting thing about how the party was her family. And those who've worked on biographies of her have said that is true.
It is true, yeah.
That Kemi felt most recognised, praised, and celebrated as an individual by the Conservative Party.
Yes.
That she came to a country which tends sometimes to treat people of colour as a person of colour, and she talked about how she felt there was low expectations of her when she was younger, whereas the Conservative Party prides itself on being colourblind, and she again nodded towards that later on in her list of Conservative principles, that it's a country, a party that judges people on the basis of their character, not the colour of their skin.
Yes, I felt as well there was warmth in the room towards her.
Definitely,
At the end,
yes.
when she came up the sort of centre aisle with Hamish, her husband, who she praised, it was quite sweet actually because she kind of used his nickname. She called him Ham,
Yes.
which clearly is like a pet name. Again, it's opening a bit more of herself up to us, which we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Who knew Kemi Badenoch had nicknames for her own husband? But as she came in, I mean, people were shouting Kemi, 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 and wanting to get near her. What I thought was interesting about her speech, and let's just contrast it to our experience with Robert Jenrick yesterday, there was genuine sort of, because she started speaking, I thought, is this a bit too quiet? This is all a bit, it's quite girly, this is very womanly, it's almost slightly maternal. I thought, are you going to be able to rouse the people in here? But she did it with very sort of calm and considered rhetoric, and that's almost like what she's trying to do with the Conservatives, isn't it?
Yeah.
As she said, I'm an engineer, not an arsonist. We are people who conserve things. We don't burn them down. We're not anarchists.
Yes.
Which was obviously pointing at reform and saying, you're all
Yeah.
getting hysterical and making promises you can't keep.
Yeah.
I think it was also a little bit of an attempt. I mean, she name-checked Rob a couple of times.
Yes.
But I think it was also, now you get back in your box.
Yeah.
You spent the whole of yesterday freelancing, including on the Daily Tea.
And who the hell is he? She's only the shadow Secretary of State for Justice. He's not
Yes.
even one of the big three jobs. It is a little odd that he gets a whole day to himself on the airwaves.
Well,
I know
think-
we interviewed him, so he contributed
I
to
know.
that.
Well, I think his team engineered. The
Yes.
jury's out on how the story of the White Faces comments that were made at a Conservative Association event ended up in The Guardian. I don't think anyone at The Guardian was at the Conservative Association event. I don't want to cast aspersions, but I kind of did think yesterday, this is all very conveniently timed. He dominates the airwaves, right? He is now singling himself out as precisely the opposite of her. He isn't a team player.
Yeah.
And she's just done a sort of half-time talk in the dressing room when
Yes.
the team is 5-0 down.
Yes.
And said, come on.
Yes.
And I think she will ingratiate herself to Conservative members, MPs, shadow ministers by saying we're all in this together,
Yeah.
because I think they'll believe her. They wouldn't believe Jenrick saying that.
No, definitely not, no. You mentioned reform, Camilla, and how interesting that this is the party which is most threatened by reform, as in reform could drive it extinct. And yet it's the party which has mentioned reform the least
Yes.
of all the conferences we've gone to. I'd also add no flags. There were 4 enormous flags standing behind Kemi, but there weren't a lot of flags in the audience.
I mean, there were towards the end, and we did start the whole thing with singing God Save the King, which I thought was quite patriotic.
Isn't
really.
that normal of a Conservative conference? I
Is it?
thought that was, I think on the last day that's pretty normal, yes.
I thought you might sing it at the end, not the beginning.
I thought you might sing it at the end rather than before Kemi entered. But anyway, in her speech, she touched upon reform very lightly, and they were the subject of one of her best jokes.
Yes, let's listen to that.
Let's look at what's on offer out there for all those disappointed by Labour. Reform promising free beer tomorrow. Jeremy Corbyn promising free jam. Lib Dems promising free lentils.
Whoever wrote the speech, to be fair, they were good jokes. There
Well,
was comedy.
and they had been through their Oxford Guide to Great Quotations.
Yes.
And they found the George Bernard Shaw one about never wrestle with a pig because you only get dirty and the pig enjoys it.
Indeed.
So I thought a clever dismissal of reform there. But when we come to the substance of what was in the speech, there was some stuff that had already been trailed this week, so
Yes.
ECHR, things like that, the judges and all that sort of business.
Mel Stride on saying that business rates in the high street were going to be abolished for shops
Yes.
and pubs. She also briefly mentioned that national insurance thing of saving $5,000, but actually, I mean, she saved the best till last. And
She did,
I liked
and
the dramatic arch of it, Tim.
She did, and there was, before she came to it, we must touch upon her saying that her new golden fiscal rule is that for every pound saved, at least half of it must go into paying off the deficit.
Yes.
So that's the I am fiscally credible line.
Yes.
Some will say, and Labour will say, that was then contradicted quite heavily by I will abolish stamp duty.
Yes. But if she's accounted for the other 50% of the pound going towards bringing down taxes,
Yeah.
then that should be what she has actually accounted for. So we had Mel Stride having accounted for £47 billion worth of savings.
Yes, things like welfare.
And her saying, we're going to fix the roof. That was another very good line. Let's have a listen to it.
We are the only party with a plan to get our economy back on track. It starts with fiscal responsibility. We have to get the deficit down, and we must also show how every tax cut or spending increase is paid for. So today, I am introducing a new golden economic rule. Every pound we save will be put to work. At least half will go towards cutting the deficit, because living within our means is our first priority. And with the rest, we will get Britain growing and bring down the taxes that are stifling our economy. That's the Conservative way. Responsibility today, opportunity tomorrow.
Some people will say that's quite reminiscent of George Osborne, and does it
It's also
then...
not a million miles away from Rachel Reeves.
No.
It is the fiscal rules.
Well, she
but
says
it's
she's
her new
fiscally
version
responsible,
of it.
but she spent,
Right.
Another 18 billion in
Yeah,
the last 6 months.
But Labour will now say, OK, so we spent money on poor people. You're abolishing stamp duty for the rich when they want to move from a 5-bedroom house to a 6-bedroom house.
Well, that's obviously nonsense. Because later on in this podcast, I spoke to a young man, a very tall young man, who that was for him the best policy policy he'd ever heard in his life because he absolutely associated it with helping him to get on the housing ladder. You know, you save for a deposit and then you lose thousands of it on stamp duty before you've even got the key to the door.
And it's a tax that a lot of people haven't prepared for and are taken by surprise. But also, the 5-bed move to a 6-bed move means that the 5-bed house is then freed up for a middle-class family that's planning to have a family to move into it.
Exactly.
And the problem, even in my area, is no one's moving.
Yeah, the whole system's gummed up.
Yes, exactly. So I honestly think there's an economic case for it. I can just see the Labour attack lines now, if Labour bothers to respond to it. The interesting question is, will it break through to the public? I think it will.
Stamp duty will.
I'm convinced that tomorrow people will be talking about that.
Yes.
In a way that they had nothing to say after the Lib Dem conference, and very little to say about Labour, except for, Labour likes flags.
And Labour thinks that Farage is a racist.
Right.
So, you know, you've cancelled out the entire content of your speech if you make statements like that.
Yes.
I was sitting there thinking, this is great, they love it, it's brilliant, she's being applauded, she's getting standing ovations, this is undoubtedly the best speech that she's ever delivered. You said it's the best speech that we've heard at this all conferences.
Definitely, yeah.
And yet still in the back of mine I'm like, is anyone listening?
Does anyone care?
Is anyone, like my husband messaged me in the middle of it and I said, I'm in Kemi's speech, and I'm like, why haven't you got it on the telly at home?
Yes. I contacted one MP while it was going on to say, are you here? Would you like to meet up? And they replied, I'm abroad.
Well, that's annoying. So
I won't say who.
That's so frustrating for her, isn't it?
Yeah.
That she, from the sort of depths of despair, produces something really quite great.
Yeah.
And not enough people hear it. But maybe, as we've already discussed, are the best outcomes for Kemi Badenoch right now the following: cut through on stamp duty.
Yes.
Cut through on, she actually delivered a really good speech, and cut through on, do you know what? This conference hasn't been an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
People have left going,
Yes.
the Conservatives, maybe they're not dead and buried after all.
Yeah.
That's a bloody result for them.
And what the membership have been saying is it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Yes.
Which I know that doesn't sound super, but when you're up against reform just sucking your MPs and your councillors away, when all those defections are going on, a conference that people leave thinking, you know what, I am a Conservative, and she is a Conservative, and maybe I'll stick with the Conservatives at least through to the May local elections.
Yes. Yeah, and then we'll
That's a
see
win.
what happens.
That's a win.
It's going to make it much more difficult, I think, now for big beasts to defect.
Yes.
You know, she's brought everybody under the tent.
Yes.
She's given them a warm Conservative cuddle.
In policy terms, what honestly now does reform offer that the Tories are not offering?
That's right. Because they're saying leave the ECHR.
Yes.
They're saying secure our borders.
Yes.
They're saying bring welfare down, which is something that reform can't seem to bring itself to say.
Yes.
She's scrapping the Climate Change Act, and she's scrapping net zero.
Yeah.
She's saying restore educational standards, none of this Bridget Phillipson-esque sort of, you know, command and control. We can't let Catherine Belbelsing be a good head teacher because we're so threatened by her success. Like at every turn, she is ticking boxes for anybody right of centre.
The only thing that stands out about reform policy now is stuff that Conservatives don't like. It's the nationalisation of steel or abolishing the two-child benefit cap. So I can't see any Conservatives going over about that, which does leave you thinking, if in a few months' time the reform poll lead dips, then is it anything but a poll lead? Is the story of reform that reform is ahead? And when reform isn't ahead, does reform lose some substance as a political project?
So are we saying, is the story of Tory success the story of reform failure?
Yes, it's the point at which there's a bubble bursts. It's the point at which they come down a bit to, let's say they are neck and neck with Labour, then why not Conservatives?
Yeah. Can I also say, thank God she has remembered that she is the opposition leader and therefore her job is to oppose the government.
Yes.
Should we hear a little bit of her laying into Keir Starmer? I mean, just for the thrill of it.
This year, the Prime Minister was asked to name his best moment in office. Do you know what he said? Walking into Downing Street. For once, I agree with him. It's been downhill all the way since.
Hearing that, let's not sweep under the carpet a year of criticism of Kemi. why has it taken so long to come up with policies that you or I a year ago could have said, you need to say this, this and this, and
Because
it
she's saying
will break through.
thoughtfulness over sloganeering.
Yeah, but she's ended up in exactly the same position on policy that she could have been a year ago when she
Maybe,
started,
yeah.
and
Maybe,
therefore
yeah.
some people, who knows, maybe Jake Berry wouldn't have left, maybe Danny Kruger wouldn't have left,
No,
you know?
but then if you're trying to preach sort of considered thinking versus car crash back of fag packet stuff, which they keep on going on about. They seem to all be obsessed with this idea of Nigel Farage constantly being in a pub writing things on the back of his fag packet.
Yeah, I know.
It's just
I know.
so much beer. I mean, there was enough beer at the Midland Hotel last night. I don't know why they're shunning it.
Yeah.
Again, she told another funny joke about that. She said, I don't want you to not have any beer. I just want you to have cheaper beer.
Yes, which is very good. But I do come back to why did this take a year? But also, as you know, immediately after she was elected, her team thought we can't let Kemi be Kemi because we don't think people like her. So
Yes.
we have to soften her and keep her quiet and all that sort of stuff. That again was a mistake. What you saw on stage was Kemi. That
Yes.
was the Kemi we should have had for a year.
But maybe Kemi needed 12 months to be herself.
Maybe, and
Maybe
it is.
you need to bed into
Politicians
that.
are human beings. It takes
Yes.
time to get into a job and to get used to it and to do it well. It could just be that she had to grow. But I do wonder if some time has been lost. I don't see why we couldn't have had some of this stuff earlier on in the season.
Well, the calculation might be reform have peaked too early. You and I keep on having these discussions. What is it that the Tory party are fighting for? Are they fighting to be the party of opposition? Are they fighting to be a coalition partner with
Well,
reform?
they are, yeah. It's
I mean,
opposition.
people in there are saying, you're saying that this speech has saved her from being toppled between now and the May elections.
Yes.
The background noise is because conference immediately, as soon as she leaves the stage, everybody just starts packing away.
Everyone runs to the train station. They've also turned off the central heating.
It's freezing
in here.
Can I borrow your jumper? If I borrowed your jumper, I'd look like a little elf at Christmas, so I really can't.
That's right, yes.
But I'm wearing red for anyone listening to this rather than watching it on YouTube.
And I'm wearing green.
And you're wearing green. But the point is, I think, is that am I getting ahead of myself?
Yeah.
Because I did ask a few people, and we're going to listen to the Vox Pops in just a minute. Has she positioned herself as a potential future Prime Minister?
I think that
It's
is
too
still
much.
too early to say. That is too much. So you did a panel beforehand, which was most entertaining, where
Yes.
you were talking to
Trying to tell jokes to
you were
warm
talking
up the
to
crowd.
an Englishman, a Scotsman, and a Welshwoman
Yes.
about the future of the union, Mims
Yes.
Davies. And I was listening to Mims Davies, the leader of the Welsh Tories.
Yeah.
And she was talking about we have to be the voice for Wales. We've got to stand up for Wales because the others, they're ruining it, but we alone are fighting the fight. I googled it. They're on 11%
I
in
know,
Wales.
the Welsh hate the
Tragically
Tories.
low.
I know,
Tragically low.
I know. But
And
it
it's
was
right-
fighting court talk.
It was fighting talk, but it was kind of sad fighting talk because you know that she's not in that game. She's not in that fight. They're not relevant in
No,
Wales.
or in Scotland,
And
really.
all of this, right now it's still a conversation internal to the Tories and internal to the centre-right. It's a battle between, do you want to go with reform or do you want to stick with the Tories? It's about winning that battle. It's not yet about
Yes.
can we beat Labour.
Okay, fair enough, but it's convenient to her, to say the very least, to perhaps put a little two-fingered salute up to anyone who has complained that she's not good enough at speeches,
Yeah, of course.
she's not good enough at PMQs.
she's answered that today,
You know, who is she? She can't cut through. Where are her policies? She's too thoughtful. She can't come up with anything concrete. She's actually just dropped a massive sort of big conservative policy bomb into that rhetoric, and I think fair play to her. It was bold, it was brave, it showed courage, which has been a little theme of this conference, actually, as we've all been reminiscing about Thatcher. What does it take to be a good politician? It takes some balls. And that was another joke she told, actually, at the very beginning, when she had criticised, well, we heard a video and she had criticised the Prime Minister for not having the balls, which of course went down well. That was one other thing. I did like it how she referred to all the other men in the race. She doesn't do identity politics, but it was a nice little reminder that there is a bird in the frame here.
Yeah.
There is a woman
Yeah.
doing her own thing in her own way, and I quite like the kind of femininity of all that. So we hot-footed it, didn't we, Tim, from our seats to the door to find out what people filing out of the conference made of Kemi Badenoch's speech. Andrew Griffith, Shadow Business, what did you make of that speech?
Look, scrapping stamp duty, that's what the Conservative Party is all about. It's a real values tax. Whose side are we on? We're on the side of people who aspire, want to buy their own home, maybe downsize. We're on as the party of opportunity. And I thought it was a great speech in terms of the honesty with which it was delivered and the fact that we're building from that base of fiscal responsibility. The Conservative Party is back, and this was a very Conservative speech.
Also, I thought it was a personal speech. I mean, she seemed very relaxed. She looked as if she was enjoying it.
I think she was enjoying it. I caught her eye lots of times. I think she was enjoying it a lot. It's what she believes. It's probably what many people in the Conservative Party wanted to say for quite a few number of years.
Yes.
This is the Conservative Party at its best, being on the side of those who seek to aspire for themselves, stick to the rules, play by the rules, work hard, and are looking for opportunities.
Yes, we are removing the taxes from the farmers, removing the taxes on small businesses, and removing the VAT on education.
Yes.
Kemi's led party, the Conservative Party, is bringing Britain back to a stronger economy. All we've had in this Labour government is inflation up, unemployment up, and growth down. The Conservative is reversing all that. That is the Conservative values. That is what Margaret Thatcher left us with, and we are continuing with that. Thank you.
All right, so you're happy with her?
We are happy with our party leader, and we are standing up with her to regain Britain back from this insensible, directionless, Keir Starmer-led Labour government.
I love how energetic you are.
nothing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. What did you make of that speech, Jim?
I think it's a fantastic speech. It'll do a hell of a lot of good.
Really? Were you quite emotional in there? I mean, you look emotional, Jim. Come. Why are you Why are you emotional? Is this what you've been wanting to hear for a long, long time? I mean, she came across there, Jim, as a true Conservative. She was quite Thatcherite in what she was saying. Are you feeling more hopeful about your party for the future?
Yeah.
Do people say, what's the weather like up there?
Very much, they do that very
Right,
much.
I'm sorry to use such cliches. You're a young Conservative, I take it?
Yep.
What did you make of Kemi's speech?
So it was very good. I think that's one of the biggest things we're facing is none of us think we're going to get homes. So scrapping the stamp duty is just an amazing choice to, get us enthused about the economy again.
Do you think that's going to win some younger people over from reform? We know Farage is popular on social media. Is that the kind of red meat she needs to throw to the youth of Britain?
I think that a lot of the people who are in reform are disenfranchised. They don't really believe in sort of traditional politics. So I'm not sure how far it will cut in, but I think it will definitely work with the people who are more engaged and more pragmatic.
People need to have a thought experiment. What they need to ask themselves is, if they give the reformists their country back, what would that look like?
Yeah.
What would it look like for all those migrants, immigrants that have come to this country and just decided, you know what, we don't want to work.
Yes.
Let you guys get on with it. What do you think would happen to the NHS? What would happen to the police? What would happen to education?
Yeah.
What would happen if all of a sudden decided we're not going to work anymore,
All right.
and we give it to them? I thought...
Has she positioned herself as a future Prime Minister there?
I absolutely think she has, for the future of our country, because what she's done today is she's defined herself. She's explained that she's got policy.
Yeah.
She's got policy on tax. Stamp duty is a massive thing that youngsters nowadays are grappling with. And the big thing, as a
Not just youngsters at the end of the day, Naveed.
And the big thing that I liked from today, and it's a different idea, is that she's getting rid of the business rate tax that's killing our high streets.
Yes.
I was at Margaret Thatcher's probably first one.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
Is it? Why is it a game changer?
Because you can see the atmosphere in the room suddenly lifted.
Yeah.
She said the right things.
Yes.
Getting rid of the tax on housing.
Yeah, what did you think of that stamp duty amount?
Absolutely fantastic. She's given us a bit of hope where all the other parties are all negative,
Yeah.
putting the country down. She's thought about it. It took her a year. She's kept telling us we're not going to make policies we can't keep.
No.
She's a serious, proper politician. She's very much like Margaret Thatcher, and I'm so happy it's happening.
We're not finished. We're far from finished, and we're going to come out fighting.
Can you give me your reaction to that speech? If you marked it out of 10, what would you give it?
To me, it gives me memories back of Margaret Thatcher, so it was a very momentous speech. It put ears on the back of my head. It was brilliant, absolutely.
Tim, we can go home and sleep in our own beds.
Oh, thank heavens, a month of being on broken down trains and in piping hot hotel rooms.
I know. Having said that, don't forget, there is another conference.
Oh, there is one more, which is actually I'm
forgetting.
sort of looking forward to.
I know, your party, our party,
Your party.
whatever the party's called.
Yes, Corbyn and Sultana.
You, me, Corbyn and Sultana.
Yeah.
What a night out that would be.
That's going to be fun. Yeah.
And we don't really know when it is because they don't seem to know when it is, but it's sometime in November.
It's in November and it's in Liverpool.
Is it one day? Does it require an overnight, or could we maybe get away with going in and out? In this?
I don't think you can.
I
get
could
back
drive
and
us.
forth from
I could drive
Liverpool.
us in my Mini Cooper.
That would be fun.
We could record on the road, couldn't we? We
should
could
get
become
one of those hippie
people.
vans, like we were going to San Francisco, but we were going to see your party.
Can we get a Volkswagen van and bunk up in it? Because then it would be truly sort of, it would be in the spirit of
Also
their slight
confirm
hippiness.
a lot of rumours around the office as well.
On that bombshell. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m.